I never see him do something that I wouldn't do myself. That I would be like, oh, that was silly. That was dumb. Or I don't get that. It's Polt always has great decision making and is quick at that. And I think that's part of why his stream is as popular as it is. He's just a player that you can watch. You can understand what he's doing. You can understand why he does the things that he does, and just be amazed by how good his decision making is overall. So we'll see if he is able to bring it back here against K-God, spawning at the top right-hand side of Orbital Shipyard.
Dust Towers.
Dust Towers. Essentially the same thing. Essentially the same thing.
And in spawning the bottom position of Dust Towers, representing CM Storm is the blue Terran, is Polt. So I think they both went for Rax Gas, which means a Reaper Scout. Now we'll see if either of them don't get the Reaper Scout and they go for a Marine, which would obviously mean a quicker factory to deviate all that gas in. As we see right now, Kelazhur is going for this double Rax Reaper pressure. He's been doing this a lot, and he's actually had a lot of success with it. The thing about this is that you can't even if it's scouted, you can't undermine it, because even if you go for a Banshee, you think, okay, he's going Reapers, I'll just get a Banshee, send it over to his opponent's base, and you just win. You still have to defend against the mass amounts of Reapers, and Polt doesn't even see it. He did a 17 scout, so this should be scouted. Which, actually, if this is, I don't know if...
You're asking if Polt scouted something?
Yeah, the second Rax of Kelazhur. Yeah, but I don't know if he actually scouted it.
He hasn't seen it yet.
He will now, but a little bit of a scare from Polt.
Does it matter that it was a late scout?
I mean, no, but still, if he only sees one Rax and 2 gas, he could probably think like the Reapers. Yeah, but he could also he sees the Reaper and he's like, okay, well, if it's Reaper and there's 2 Rax, obviously it's gonna probably be more Reapers. Kelazhur is picking off the SCV, so this is in a situation where Kelazhur has these Reaper pressure versus Polt, who went for a Marine, is going to go for a 1-1-1, and this is the same situation where Polt's going to try to defend the aggression of Kelazhur, and Kelazhur is going to try to pressure Polt, probably go up the ramp, throw some grenades, and we'll see. He'll probably go into 1-1-1 or factory starport after.
Let's try to let's see what he decides to do here, Taylor. It's what do you think about Marines here? Is that the right call?
Marines are good. It's all about the grenade shot or grenade throws from Kelazhur and see if he's actually going to get damaged in. I do like this. He's going to commit on one way instead of go up the ramp.
And a great preemptive grenade by Polt. Of course, it didn't look impactful because Kelazhur didn't actually jump. But that could have been really good. So
nice, but Kelazhur knows, he's smart enough to know if he commits up that cliff without knowing where the grenade is, he could definitely lose. And this is actually a huge blunder from Polt. He does pick off that Reaper, so it's really good. 3 Reapers in the mineral line is not very, it's very scary as the defender, because 3 grenades actually get SCVs into the red point where it's only 1 more grenade more.
There's a Reaper controller we were talking about with Kelazhur. He's just so good with them.
Yeah, and he's staying away from the main army. He's going to delay the starport, which is actually a pretty big deal. Getting his own, he's getting stem at the moment, so he's not committing to mass amount of Reapers.
Finding so much great micro once again, yeah. And leaving with both Reapers alive, so
yeah, and he's
great job by him. But the Reaper of Polt is gonna chase.
If he gets grenade shot, ooh, that's actually big, because Polt will actually lose this fight.
Oh my god, no. That's good for Kelazhur once again. And he only committed to 3 Reapers and then started the transition, seeing as Polt scouted him, I suppose. He decided not to.
He got his own scouting. He knows what's up. He delayed the starport, and he got some SCV damage. SCV.
So yeah, everything that we just saw. But now, the question from here, Taylor, is when, for example, in TVC, right? In TVC, when you see double Rax Reaper, sometimes you can just make 3 Reapers like Kelazhur did, or even 2 Reapers, and then stop. And what that does is it forces a reaction out of the circuit. Is it the same for TVT? I would guess to a lesser extent, but
it is to a lesser extent, because Polt knows that in order to go double Rax Reaper, Kelazhur skipped on the command center while he got his own command center.
But he still has to account for that, right? How did he account for that, or how is his build different? How does Kelazhur benefit from not making more than 2 Reapers?
So 3 is pretty much like the magic number when it comes to pressuring. It's 3, 5, and then 8, and 8's the all-in option when it's 3 Rax Reaper. But 3 Reapers is usually the point where you can actually take out 1-1-1 production really easily. And if you keep all 3 Reapers alive, there's no amount of trickled units that comes out of each unit.
Okay, so Kelazhur was always planning to go 3 Reaper, or do you think it was because he got scouted that he stopped making Reapers?
We would have to ask him that. It's kind of both. Like, you can go, like I said, he opted for a quick stem instead, which is a pretty...
This Medivac got spotted, by the way.
Which is a pretty... We good? Okay. Oh, okay. Okay, so Kelazhur did this last game during the Team Cup. We'll see. Polt did not move out. He got to save the Viking. It's funny how the Viking's right there. It did get scouted, but he's just thinking about game.
No, it was there before it got scouted, yeah. The Viking was just ready for this. I guess Kelazhur did something very similar.
Yeah, he did the exact same thing. And Polt had double medevac across the map, so he was just out of position, but Polt decided to stay in his base. But Kelazhur's in a really great position. They're both actually, it kind of evened out, but I would give a slight advantage, of course, to Kelazhur at the moment.
Yeah,
but
the Reaper opener was definitely great for him.
I think Polt has third command center and Kelazhur doesn't.
Look at how defensive Polt is, by the way. He already has the tank in position. He is going pretty greedy. Like you said, Kelazhur doesn't have a 3rd CC. He's now starting it, I think. Let's look at his main really quick.
Nope,
no 3rd
he's just going to go for this 2-base aggression.
Yeah.
I would like to see a 4th and 5th racks.
There's a huge drop here, a huge Doom drop. The tank is not in position, by the way. And Kelazhur,
dropping right on the tank. That's exactly what you need to do. He's going to siege both tanks.
Oh my god, this is
and he's going to use the medevac for high count. There's no stem. There's no stem from Polt. This is actually huge. His commander is essentially just going to die. And it's going to be a 2-base.
And all the SCVs as well.
I think he does need to watch the tanks, though, with the medevac.
Yeah, no high ground vision right now for Kelazhur, but he has done enough damage, I think, to justify this regardless. He killed every SCV.
Oh, he lost.
Line.
He did
loses
lose
the tank, but does it matter? If the command center falls down, I really got it well done.
I think he should have focused it down. There were no SCVs in sight. It would have been
matter,
close, though.
Just looking at the supply, I mean, he killed so many workers. It was 3 medevacs worth of units, but almost double the worker count for Kelazhur right now, who is now dropping a 3rd CC behind it. So he's like, I did enough damage with that to play a macro game at the very least. That's the statement that he makes by dropping the CC.
Really great drop from Kelazhur. Really, he's going to get double medevac protection. He's going to go into that standard Marine tank versus Marine tank.
And all things considered, the best defense that Polt could have come up with from the position, right? Like, I mean, the Viking barely missed all the medevacs coming in, so he had very little heads up onto what was happening, and he still defended fairly well. He took advantage of the high ground with the tanks, knowing that the medevacs were off position, and ends up clearing the attack. But is that enough for Polt to stay in this game? Only time will tell. Yeah. He does have the better upgrades, much better upgrades.
Kelazhur is playing very, very safe. He's getting that sensor tower, knowing that the only way that Polt could actually officially even this game out is by a Doom drop. He's going to drop this natural. It won't get much damage done, but it's going to get some worker kills. Probably pick off a mule or two, or maybe in the Viking, which would be nice because you could drop play without getting spotted, since there's that airspace behind the 3rd.
Right.
But Polt's going to probably just try to stay defensive, push for a 2-2 timing with the bio, which is always a good timing, but Kelazhur's catching up in upgrades, and he's actually amped up his production. But the main thing is that since he traded so well, that Kelazhur can actually take his 3rd base, while Polt can't really take his 3rd. If Polt took his 3rd right when the Doom drop happened, he would definitely have, he wouldn't have enough units to defend all 3 locations properly. Especially with that Viking game taken out, he could die to a Doom drop. Which is
also because so many SCVs got taken down. There's less of a benefit that Polt can get from taking his 3rd earlier than he is, right? Because he didn't have the SCVs to mine it. Now he's almost caught up though. Polt has done a really good job of catching up because he did have that 3rd CC already finished. So yeah, we're working on some sound issues at the same time. Polt with also the sensor tower, so he probably feels like he's not in that terrible of a position, right? And he's not. I mean, if we look at the supply,
yeah, he's caught up quite well.
Kelazhur did a lot of damage, but at the cost of his army, at the cost of not getting a 3rd CC, at the cost of delaying his upgrades. So Polt is definitely still very well in this game. If not ahead, I mean, no, not ahead. Okay,
Kelazhur slightly ahead. But Kelazhur already knows that this isn't a full committed push out because
look at the
siege
upgrades.
tanks,
by the way, they're like exactly the same.
Polt is adding on his 2nd factory, and I think Kelazhur is only on 1 factory right now, which he'll probably have to get a 2nd factory sooner or later because the tank count is pretty important in Marine tank. He's gonna push out. Oh my gosh, he's gonna push out. And
Kelazhur dropping the tanks at a really awkward position, but
no,
still
but takes out
the,
everything.
Yeah, still getting the best end of that fight.
Don't know why Polt didn't bring his tanks with him, which it was really confusing for me because usually like when Kelazhur scanned, he only saw Marines and medevacs.
Kelazhur still lost a lot of tanks there. I'm not sure that that was a worthwhile trade for him. Was it? Because right now Polt is ahead 7 tanks to 5 of Kelazhur.
Yeah, but he does have the map control now to take a 4th, which he is right now.
Yeah. And that was a less than optimal engagement for Kelazhur because of where his Marines were positioned in the choke. He was forced to drop
and the tanks were
in
front.
front.
Yeah. But with that situation, though, he's, like I said, he's able to take a 4th. He's able to put pressure on. It's really hard with this Marine tank meta. It's really hard for Terran players to defend properly. You have to be spread absolutely perfectly, which he is right now. Kelazhur should not try to force his engagement. As we see, he's probably going to back off. Pick off the sensor tower is actually a pretty big deal because he can get Doom dropped now, and Polt's probably afraid of that.
So he's going to have to remake that most likely.
Oh, yeah, he will definitely. Dust Towers is a great map to defend 3 bases, but after you get a 3rd, like if you see in TVT a sensor tower, it most likely means that the Terran player has already gotten a 3rd because the sensor tower helps deter and also detects potential drops.
Right.
So it just, because you're spread too thin if you were to do it otherwise. Polt's moving out right now. I'm not sure how much I like this decision from him. Army supply is in the favor of... It's actually really even. So as long as they push with upgrades. Polt started 3+3 attack. And I think Diego's still on... He's on 2-1. So Polt is ahead of on upgrades, which is a pretty big deal. But I would give the army advantage to Kelazhur. So it's all about positioning right now, pretty much.
Yeah, and these things can go south really, really easily. I mean,
no one wants to commit to a fight.
It's all about the tanks. Now... I think that Kelazhur might have the edge in this type of engagement because I think he's the better mechanical player, and we'll see what happens here. But Polt, like you mentioned before, not bringing tanks beforehand and whatnot, that was kind of deterring, and now it makes me wonder: is Polt comfortable enough to control this sort of army at this level, you know, and he probably is. But catching the tanks off siege potentially. We'll see what happens here. Oh my God, Kelazhur forced to retreat. Polt taking the much better end of that engagement, and the Vikings are here to clean up the medevacs as well and section them off. So a great engagement by Polt, taking a 40 supply lead right now.
And that's the unforgiveness of Marine tank versus Marine tank right now. Yeah, I think Kelazhur tried to force that engagement. He attacked right into a choke and tried to split really quickly against that many tanks.
Yeah, it was because he was seeing the tanks not sieged up yet. But yeah, I agree with you. Knowing that he has the faster 4th, perhaps a little bit of an overextension from Kelazhur.
He's going to pick up 2 Vikings,
so that's good.
Now here comes the really tricky part about attacking into this 4th as a Terran player attacking into it. I mean, the Vikings really nice. If there were 3 Vikings, it'd be a little bit more scarier. But the unit count wise, like, Polt's ahead in the tank count, which is a pretty big deal. But maybe Polt has enough to swarm this. Polt's not really a person that I would think would try to, like, bum rush him in. Because, I mean, it's, like I said, so unforgivable. And the defender always wins just because there is a short time before the tanks actually fire.
Yeah, Polt trying to find an angle where he can pick off like a bunch of Marines or something like that and protected by the tanks. And he's going to find it here.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is a great position for Polt to siege those tanks in. Now, what is... Oh, and Kelazhur very smartly going with the 2 medevacs. Oh my God, Polt not paying attention right now. Polt is not paying attention at all of those tanks are going to fall to Kelazhur. Oh, that's huge.
So Polt pretty much stemmed his whole army. Oh my gosh, if Kelazhur broke those rocks, like, I don't know what that would entice Polt to do, but I think Kelazhur's in a really good position now, because his army's essentially just trapped, unless Polt goes into the main, which I'm pretty sure Kelazhur would be, I think he's rallying to the main too at the same time. But
I don't see any rallies at the main, on the minimap at least. Polt behind us did take a 5th, trying to take advantage of his army supply, but I think that Kelazhur needs to find an engagement and kill this army while he has the advantage, before Polt reinforces this army. So we'll see if he's able to do that. That could even the supplies, and this is forcing Polt out of this position. He can always pick up everything, and now with Vikings though, this might force Polt to pick up right now, or potentially stand to lose that entire army. So
and I think he's going to try to do that. Drop right there. Vikings get the high ground, get a tank. That's really nice. the vehicle weapons actually coming into effect here. But I mean, Polt's pretty ahead right now. It's up to Kelazhur to try to make something happen. He can camp the fort the same that Polt did to him, but I would say it's really tricky in this situation, especially on this map, because you really want to be the aggressor on this map. Yeah, and Kelazhur just is going to get a cancel or even get a killed command center.
Yeah.
So
at the same time, Polt is going to use this time to move out on the map. And we'll see if Kelazhur can find that engagement that he's looking for. Like you said, tank marine, it can be pretty unforgivable. And Polt is going to find a great position, very difficult to break for Kelazhur. I wouldn't mind a counterattack by Kelazhur here because, you know, this position is going to be so difficult to break.
And he is. Look at that big counterattack. He's probably going to rally everything to the third. But it's up to Polt to decide what to do. It looks like he's just going to stem in and try to kill the PF, which he'll get, but he has to still defend at home. And
not a PF there for Polt, by the way. And
yeah,
Kelazhur
that was
is going to continue to push in. So does Kelazhur have enough defense back at home to stop
I don't
Polt?
like this with the Marines, though.
That was a lot of tanks lost. And Kelazhur doesn't have many tanks back at home either. Does he have any tanks up the ramp? That's going to be really important.
No, he doesn't.
No, none. So I don't see how Kelazhur holds here. And Polt is not going to hold either, but he's going to have the greater army remaining after this. Kelazhur is going to split some of his army to try and kill workers at the other base of Polt. And he's actually out of Marines as well, so things could get really tricky here for Polt, who does have a PF at that 5th base. Yeah, Kelazhur is just going to be broken here, and it looks like Polt is looking to even the series up 1 apiece.
Yeah, I think that first fight that Kelazhur tried to force in the middle was the biggest blunder, and definitely swung the tempo back into Polt's favor, but I don't see a way that Kelazhur can actually come back from this. Seeing how Polt has tanks at home with Vikings for high ground, and just overall army. I mean, look at the supplies. It's obviously a huge advantage. I mean, Kelazhur might try to make something happen. If
the only thing that could happen here is if he could sneak out a Banshee or something like that with Cloak and kill every command.
Pretty much, Polt would just have to not pick up his tanks, stem in like a full launder fire from the tanks. But I doubt Polt will do that. It's pretty
very un-Polt like.
Yeah. Yeah, we're just waiting for the end of this. I mean,
of course, can't fault Kelazhur for trying here.
Yeah, I mean, might as well. I mean, it's a tournament.
Yeah, he has a CC floated over as well, so not sure what the hope is though.
I mean, yeah, there's not really much hope. Polt's actually just gonna abandon this when
maybe he's thinking about the next game.
Yeah, probably.
No, he's not. Come on, that's just something the casters say. Like,
really? I didn't know that. I thought people actually.
Do you ever think about the next game when you're in a game?
Well, I'm never in like a high caliber game like this.
I mean, you can just think about the next game.
Although
after the game is over.
Okay. GG. I was like, maybe if Kelazhur got that command center and he got all the command centers, he might been able to force a draw. But then I realized that Polt still had Vikings.
True that. But so with that, with a great engagement in the middle of the map, Polt is gonna even out the series against the one true K-God. And the third